Joining us in studio right now, appreciate Tim Collins coming in, visiting with us about the Lubbock County Expo Center. And Tim, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Doing great. Good morning.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. I know we were originally supposed to have Randy on. He had an event pop up, so appreciate you filling in for him. And tell folks a little bit about your role in all of this as far as the Lubbock County Expo Center goes.
Well, this has been a part of my dream for our community for a long time, but I'm committed to the Buddy Holly Hall project, and so I'm helping Randy. I've got a little bit of been there, done that experience that hopefully he finds helpful, and so I'm helping him try to move this effort forward.
So is this a committee that's been working on this, or what? Give us some background. When did this committee form, or if there's a committee, what are the moving parts here? Yeah,
so when the vote of May 5th occurred and the city voted to abandon the Auditorium Coliseum project, a group of people got together, myself, Randy Jordan, a couple of others, and we decided that we'd try to move this forward. We had visits with council members, we had visits with county commissioners, we had visits with stakeholders and users around the community, and the decision was made to try to go forward. And so a group of people have been pulled together to help steer the process. It's not official at this point. A nonprofit organization is being planned and formed, but we've just been working kind of behind the scenes to help us move this thing forward and get us to. First step was August when the county commissioners voted to allow this to go on the ballot.
Okay, so and you said that after the May 5th vote is when was the committee formed then, or was there work beforehand?
There had been some work beforehand. There had been a feasibility study that had been funded and done several years ago, and so there's always been this conversation about what was needed. And when you look at the Coliseum for its use, the city had surrounded that to some degree, and so it wasn't functioning as well as we needed it to for a lot of different events that could have occurred in the city. And so, there's always been some background talk about having a need to move something forward. So,
and one of the reasons I ask that is because one of the criticisms that has been out there of this idea is that things are moving really fast and we don't have all the details. And I think we'll get to some of that today. And that's what I'm trying to figure out here is, did this group just come together on May 5th or May 6th or May 7th, or did this group get together before the vote and start going, okay, we know that there's going to be a vote. Let's start planning out if this vote passes, which everyone had predicted that it was going to pass. Let's start the at least the planning beforehand. So when did that start occurring?
I can't put a timeline on it, Chad, specifically. I know that there had been a lot of individual types of efforts. This feasibility study was funded by different aspects of the community that had a vested interest in moving that forward. That occurred again several years prior to May 5th. Randy and I had talked about that for years, of course. So I don't know if it came right before May 5th or right after in terms of having a meeting and trying to be more formal about the process, but it was in that time frame, of course. And it is moving fast, and that's just a reality that we have to consider. It is moving fast, but our hands have been forced to some degree. October 1st, I think the city council voted to turn the buildings back to Texas Tech. They have a schedule. I know in the Regents meeting yesterday, it was being considered to put the funds necessary to plan the demolition. It's our understanding that the ABC Rodeo will be able to use that building in March of 2019, but it may not be available going forward from there. And so alternatives have to be considered, and it has to move quickly.
Well, let's talk about the alternative that is being proposed and is basically on the ballot, and that is the Lubbock County Expo Center. I know there's a Facebook page up and running. There's some pictures on there of what it may or may not look like. Where are we in the process right now of the Lubbock County or the planning of the Lubbock County Expo Center?
So there are questions out there that need to be answered, and those are coming soon. But the planning process is moving along. Frankly, it's moving along very nicely. The group is looking at locations. The group has gotten some renderings from MWM Architects here in town, and we've talked to 3 different general contractors about getting some budget pricing to understand what a building is going to cost that meets the needs that we have within our community, or at least what we think they are. All of that takes time, and it also takes money. And so there's some fundraising being done for to pay for some of this preliminary study that's being done, and to help to make sure that we get it all right. From November, if this effort is approved, then you'll see a concerted effort to make sure that stakeholders are brought in, the pre-development planning is done properly, just like we did at Buddy Holly Hall. We've spent literally months interviewing folks who would use the building and what their needs were to understand that. And you go through that process very carefully from that point going forward to ensure that you can meet the needs of the community, whether it's the ag community, or the equestrian community, or the rest of the folks that are going to come out and want to utilize this building.
Yeah. You bring up Buddy Holly Hall, and you've done a great job.
Well, thank you.
With Buddy Holly Hall and raising the money, and you brought up, this is kind of like that as far as you're going to talk to all the stakeholders, but they're different because y'all did this privately. You did Buddy Holly Hall privately. You went out and talked to people, said, let's bring in, different stakeholders. Let's get money raised. Let's do all of that. Why not the same with the Lubbock County Expo Center?
I think this is it's a broader project. It has an appeal to much more of our community and to our region. And so there's I think it's fitting that there can be some public monies invested in this because it appeals to so much more of our community.
I mean, and we might be getting into a debate here over whether or not, rodeo events appeal to more people than concerts and the ballet y'all have got a lot that's going to go. Don't sell yourself short here on the Buddy Holly Hall. Y'all got a lot of, things that are going to be happening there. To me, you're talking about the theater. You're talking about the symphony. Is that right?
Absolutely.
You've got
sure.
Lubbock ISD. You've got concerts that y'all are hoping to bring in. That sounds like to me pretty broad amount of people that would be going. And for the Lubbock County Expo Center, if I'm right on this, it's going to be dirt floor mainly. It's going to be rodeo and dirt floor events, right?
Well, it will house those, of course, but I think we've got to look at the broad picture for that facility as well. There are countless organizations and types of events that would have the opportunity to use that. Anything from the convention business that we sometimes struggle with today to I was thinking about this driving over. I saw a canine agility deal on TV last night. And there's nothing more cool than watching those dogs who do those activities. That's just one of the many things that can use this building. This is not a building that's totally centered around the ag and equestrian events and community here. We've got monster truck that has no home. We've got motocross, and we don't even know the things that we don't know that haven't been to Lubbock in years past. But I can put my my Market Lubbock hat on for just a minute and talk about the convention business that we miss in our community. We have a huge need for space for conventions and indoor space. If you might remember, years ago we had the FFA convention here, and it brought like 12,000 students into Lubbock. Yeah. But we put the exhibitors outside on the parking lot at the United Spirit Arena in July, and so you can understand why maybe they don't want to come back and.
So how does that help? How does the Lubbock County Expo Center help out the convention center?
Well, so you've got approximately 50,000 square feet of exhibition space planned in that building. It's not just an arena. It's not just an outdoor rodeo arena. It is much more than that, and it has to be. Just like with Buddy Holly Hall, we had to do more than just have a place for the symphony or the ballet. We had to have a place for other events to make that building economically viable. Same here. You have to put the building together that has multiple uses. You cannot support a building 48 weekends a year. You need 360 plus days of usage, and you need multiple uses going on at the same time.
So the thinking is there may be conventions that are held out there?
Oh, absolutely.
That may not go to the convention center.
Well, it depends. And again, it's about size and need and space. There are events that will fit in our Civic Center, Convention Center. There are going to be events that fit out there. And so they don't have to conflict with one another. They just have to create options. And so you have a small space here. You have a larger space there. And so what's the user need?
Yeah.
And we answer that.
Can you hang out one more segment?
Absolutely.
All right. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about the Lubbock County Expo Center. The vote coming up, early voting begins later on this month. It's
October 22nd.
It's right around the corner. So we'll talk about that and much more when we come back. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO. We're back. Tim Collins, who's joining us to talk about the Lubbock County Expo Center. And I guess, is it right to say that you're on the committee, or how's that?
Yes.
Okay, so you're on the committee for the Lubbock County
Randy Jordan
Expo Center.
And a number of others.
Okay. You said that there's going to be a nonprofit that's going to be formed, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so it's not formed yet.
It's in the process. We're awaiting the registration back from the IRS, from the feds.
Okay, and so, have y'all put together like a list of bylaws? Have y'all put together all of that? Like, how's this working, and how's this going to work independently from the county?
Yes, there is a list of bylaws that is being put together, and that's part of the process that you have to have in place before you can ask for a determination from the IRS and get your tax ID number. And
is that going to be out there for everybody to see?
Absolutely.
Or? Okay.
You bet. And it'll be those are the kinds of things that you go through to help ensure that there is an official process, that there is an official group that is formed. It'll be representative of the entire community, the folks that would be on that board, and then that board can move forward with working and negotiating with the county, and as its role would be in the management of the facility.
When do you anticipate this the nonprofit being formed and announced and everything?
So the application's been made, and so then you become at the mercy of the IRS in terms of how long that it takes for them to get that information back to you. But I expect it to be back anytime. We're just
before the vote.
I don't know if it'll be back by then or not.
Okay.
But again, I think we're at the mercy of the IRS.
Sure.
So it could be tomorrow, or it could be December, January.
One of the number one things people want to know about this project is how much is it going to cost?
And so a cost figure is being developed. As I said in the earlier segment, we've had 3 general contractors work on pricing for this. An announcement of that, it will be forthcoming prior to the vote, prior to early voting, as to what those budget numbers look like. And so that's coming. I think probably next question on your list is where, and that'll be a part of that same conversation that's coming up. We've been looking at locations. We've been talking to landowners about how they could participate with us on this, and so that's ongoing as well. And those are questions that have to be answered, and I appreciate you asking them as well as the public. They need to know that, and I think it's very important. You can't negotiate these deals on Facebook or on the radio, as you understand. And so, we're trying to make sure that we do the best for both our organization, for the taxpayer, and for the landowner.
What about for those who say, oh, okay, you don't have it yet. You're asking me to go and vote for something that, as of right now, we don't have the price for it. We don't have we don't know how much it's going to cost, where it's going to be. We don't have all the details as of right now. But hey, you're asking people to go and vote, and I know the vote's in a couple of weeks, and you say all this information will be out before the vote. Is there any chance it won't be out before the vote?
There is no chance that it won't be out before the vote.
Okay. So why should people right now feel comfortable with the direction of this project?
I hope that they're comfortable with the leadership, the people that are involved. Randy Jordan, I mean, what a wonderful guy who has done nothing but give back to his community. Folks like me, and I don't assume any type of But I don't mean to. You know what I'm trying to say, Chad.
But isn't that one of the problems here? Is that we don't know who all is part of this. We don't know who's been driving the bus. We've heard Randy's name and we didn't know that you were involved until today. I mean,
okay.
You're on the committee, but we don't know who all's been on the committee. We don't know when the bus started getting going and driving forward. And to me, I'm just thinking about how listeners react. They want as much transparency and as much, as much detail, as possible.
Sure.
And that hasn't been out there yet. Do you think that's an issue? Is that something that's been lacking here?
Well, I don't know that it's lacking. I think it's just a part of the process. There is so much work to be done. And so your head's down and your arms are pumping and you're trying to get the work done so that you can put it out there. It wasn't ready August 13th when the county opted to put this on the ballot. Some of this information is being developed. As I said earlier, some of this information costs money to develop, and so we're working through those processes. I can tell you, Rob Allison, Tim Collins, Randy Jordan, Burl Robertson, other guys from the ag community, from the ABC Rodeo, have been a part of the steering committee to help move it forward to this point. The information will come, and it will come before early voting, well before early voting, and then we can come back and talk about, some of that direction that it's going. The pledge that we've made both to ourselves and to the Commissioner's Court is that money will be raised and put into an endowment to ensure that this building does not cost the taxpayer money in maintenance and operations. And I think that's very important. That we've pledged that, and I think the County Commissioner's Court is going to hold us to that, of course. And so, much like with Buddy Holly Hall, we had a fundraising threshold that we had to meet before the city granted the DPS site to us. We reached that threshold. The city made the grant. We tore down the DPS building, and we got to move forward. And so there is multiple steps of accountability that will be brought into play as we go forward. Is there a little bit of trust on the part of the voter that we need? Absolutely there is. And so, we're hoping that the people that are involved and the sincerity and quality of the effort will give them that trust. And then you have the oversight of the Commissioner's Court. Because it's not just, here you go. Here's the check. See ya. Go away. We know that's not going to happen, and we hear that both from the commissioners and we hear that from the public.
Well, let's talk about that real quick, and we only have a few minutes left here. With this current Commissioner's Court, the politics of the day. That there are some commissioners on this court that are not well liked, and they were voted out. Why go to this Commissioner's Court instead of waiting for early January of next year and saying, here's the fresh Commissioner's Court, the people who, the people voted for to have them on this court to make the big decisions. This last Commissioner's Court was unpopular. People didn't always trust this Commissioner's Court. This one, we can, put all of this out there, maybe have even more details out in front of people. Why not take that route?
It goes back to the timing of the May 5th vote and the timing of the need for the facility. Again, the Auditorium Coliseum complex, it appears, will come down in the spring of 19, shortly after the ABC Rodeo occurs in March. And so to have a replacement in place, even hopeful to have it in 2020, but more likely in 2021. I think from a construction schedule standpoint, the effort really needed to get started now. It's fresh on people's minds. It's out there to be considered, and so I think the timing was important to have a replacement. PRCA, and I don't know this specifically with the ABC Rodeo Group, but the PRCA will probably give them some leniency in terms of having a replacement facility. But if this were to stretch out over very long, more than a year or two, they could lose their dates. And trust me, there are regions standing in line to get a PRCA rodeo date, and so that's a component. The other piece is, why not now? Why not Lubbock, and why not now?
Right. This we're wrapping up. Where can people get more information, and when do you anticipate details coming out as far as how much, where, and
so those details will be coming in a press conference within the next week and a half.
Okay.
Our Facebook page has a lot of information on it. You can go there. Call me on the phone. Call Randy Jordan. We're happy to answer questions, and hopefully we can come back and visit with you again soon.
And absolutely
talk some more about it.
All right, Tim Collins, Lubbock County Expo Center. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Thank you.